You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? I have it on my hat. So, you know that it's my saying. This is Hot Takes. I am producer Kyle. Welcome in. We're going to do this show a little differently tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Especially because if y'all don't call in, it's going to be a not as fun show. We're gonna approach this a little differently tonight. We're gonna talk about how it's award season in Hollywood and what that means. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say on these topics. So we're gonna play the opener, and then we're gonna come back in. And we're gonna break down what's gonna happen and how this is gonna go. So stick around in just a minute for Hot Takes. Welcome into Hot Takes, the internet. First of all, I want to thank my friend Andrew Stanton for that song Emerald Weekend. It's been my theme song on shows for like a long time now, so I really appreciate that. This is Hot Takes. I am producer Kyle, like I said before, and we're going to do this thing a little different tonight. I'm going to introduce a new thing here on the show. I really need to do something about this glare right here on the flash, but we'll deal with that later. We're going to introduce a new thing here on the show, a different way to kind of get everybody talking. So first of all, you can call in on this show. You can call the number 567-318-6507, 567-318-6507 to be on the show. Kenneth Bird, what's up, buddy? We've had Lars Mann call in the last few weeks. We've had other people call in. You can call in and be on the show. But if you call in, I want you to be able to answer what I'm calling the big question. I want to ask a big question and get everybody kind of talking about it. And everything we talk about tonight is going to point towards the big question. Does it make sense? Thank you for the heart, Jay Burns. If you're here, hit like. I don't care what platform you're on, hit like. Give me a thumbs up or like, or if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Although I can't imagine you haven't, but make sure you've clicked the bell. So here's tonight's big question. What influences you when you consume media? What influences you to consume media? That's the big question. 567-318-6507. Give me a call. Tell me what influences you to consume media. And we're going to talk about a number of things that all point back to this question. What influences you to consume media? It's award season in Hollywood, which means the pretty people dress up fancy and go places and get handed really expensive hunks of metal. And I say that being a voter for one of them. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Last night was the Critics' Choice Awards out in Hollywood, and there were some really cool things that happened, including an Encino Man reunion. You had Ki Hui Kwan. I'm gonna mess that up. I messed that up. Let me find his name here so I can say it right. Unless Jay remembers off the top of his head. From Everything Everywhere All at Once. Anyway, he won, and Brendan Fraser won for The Whale. And the interesting thing is that those guys have worked together for a long time, and they both won last night. And there's a reunion of Encino Man, so I like that. there are a lot of really good movies and things that are nominated for these awards. For Best Picture, for instance, last night at the Critics' Choice Awards, Everything Everywhere All at Once from A24 won, but also nominated were Babylon from Paramount Pictures, The Banshees of Inisherin, which was a Searchlight picture that I really liked, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Dan's favorite movie, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, which I'm refusing to say any differently because of Ryan Johnson, Triple R, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. A lot of great movies nominated there. Does a movie nomination get you to see it? Does a nomination for a movie get you interested in seeing it? Like, if you haven't seen Banshees of Inisherin, are you willing to sit down and watch it now that it's been nominated for stuff? If it gets an Oscar nomination when you watch it, is Critics' Choice like not a thing? What about a Golden Globe? Like, you tell me, do these nominations matter? Or are you like me, who I watch a lot of these movies, but if it gets nominated for a Razzie, that's a surefire bet that I'm gonna watch it. Do nominations help you to decide what you want to watch? There were some other great things not nominated and things to talk about. But one of the other big pieces of news coming out of last night's Critics' Choice Awards was that Harley Quinn from HBO won Best Animated Series. The Weird Al Yankovic story made Best Movie Made for Television, won Best Movie Made for Television. Excuse me. Daniel Radcliffe won Best Actor in a Limited Series or Movie Made for Television for the Weird Al story. Best Costume Design went to Ruth Carter for Wakanda Forever. And Best Supporting Actress went to Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever. That means Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, is really the first major superhero movie to really start taking home big awards, like actor awards, not just costuming or score or cinematography, but like big awards. So my question to you again, as I close this so it doesn't come through on the air, is what influences you when you consume media? I will tell you, one of the cool things that I get to do, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, is that I am a voter for the Independent Spirit Awards, which is the IFC Awards. Basically, if you're an independent film, they're your Oscars, right? And sometimes these independent films get nominated for an actual Oscar, but these are your Oscars. And the way I get to be a voter is I pay money. It's not a program they offer anymore, but for a while you could sign up to be a voter for the Independent Spirit Awards. And you have to go to so many movies a year and watch so many independent films, but then they send you screeners for others and you vote. And then instead of getting a big haul, they do it on the beach in LA. It's a really cool award show. But if something gets nominated for that, it forces me to watch it. So awards definitely influence me in terms of I will watch that thing because it gets nominated. A movie like Glass Onion is kind of a toss-up for me 90% of the time. I may or may not watch it. Dan loves it, so I like, Dan talking about it so much kind of led me to watching it, but it was a movie that I would have made a toss-up. Elvis, same way. It's a movie that was a toss-up for me. I hadn't watched it yet. But now that it's getting nominated for things, I watch it. What influences you to consume media? 567-318-6507. Give me a call. Tell me what influences you. There are a number of other awards shows happening and a number of other things again that are kind of going down. The Directors Guild's awards are happening, which is not a great. The Directors Guild awards are struggling. I will say this. This year, nominations were, how do I put this? Pretty male driven. And that's a thing. Don't get me wrong. It's a thing. But there's not a lot of women nominated for the awards from the DGA. In fact, the Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Theatrical Feature Film from the DGA, Todd Field for Tar, Joseph Kaczynski for Top Gun Maverick, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheignert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. In fact, it's not until you get into Outstanding Directorial Achievement for a first-time feature film director that you get women nominees, and there are 4 out of 5. So it's an interesting thing to be watching the awards right now. And I will say this, when you see something like this get nominated, definitely consider it as something to watch if you don't already. I still want to know, I'm going to talk about other things here that influence you on what to watch. But the consumption of media is a thing that I'm very interested in because it's like my job. My job is to figure out how we get people to consume what we make here on The Experience. And my job is to help people to find comic books to consume and media to consume. And so what influences you to consume media is very interesting to me. Thank you, Nick. Yes, please hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. I do want to say that the fact that Wakanda Forever has gotten so many nominations for Angela Bassett is well deserved. She was great in that movie. And the fact that she's winning awards for it are, great. I'd like to see more of our superhero genre films recognized for actor roles, right? I think they have to get a little more serious for that to happen. I don't think you're ever going to see The Boys, for instance, get nominated for an actor role. Anyone from The Boys. I do think you'll see it nominated. You'll see things like The Boys nominated for special effects, score, cinematography, that kind of stuff. Because it's what superhero films do best. It's hard to get noticed as an actor for playing a role in a superhero movie because so many of the things that get nominated for those awards are like super heavy, super feely kind of roles, right? Like Brendan Fraser never got nominated for The Mummy, but he gets nominated for The Whale. Another example, and this is a joke that's happened for a long time, is that you had Robin Williams. Robin Williams make great movies, and then he'd grow a beard and get nominated for an Oscar. He wasn't getting nominated for Mrs. Doubtfire, but he'd get nominated for Good Will Hunting. I think so much of these awards is based on film still being a high art form. And so many of the people in the industry don't consider superhero films high art. But what we're starting to see with movies Wakanda Forever or Harley Quinn, the animated series, who's doing great things in the field of animation. You're starting to see that the innovations that are being made in the superhero realm are pushing the rest of the world. And I think that's interesting to see. So we got to take a break here in just a minute, but I want to remind you guys of our big question. The big question is the thing we're talking about tonight. What influences you to consume media? If you weren't already going to watch something, what helps you to decide to watch that thing? What influences you to consume media? And we'll talk about that when we get back as we talk about some new shows that are coming out and some things like that I think are very interesting to think about. So before we do that, I have What's Up the Internet merch. We have a newsstand edition merch. We have all kinds of merch over on the EXP merch store. You can buy it, you can pick it up, and it helps us to pay our bills. It helps us to keep the experience going. If you head over to theexplive.com, TheExplive.com, which just redirects to comicshoppingexperience.com, which is our website, and you click on the EXP merch button, it'll take you to something called Spread Shop. You can buy our merch. There'll be new merch, I promise. I'm a week behind on it. I didn't feel great last week. We will get that taken care of this week. We'll have new merch available starting this week for you to check out. But if you could go over there and check that out, that would be great. And at the same time, if you could, visit all the other parts of our website. Check out everything we got going on. I'm hoping that by the 1st of February or so, we'll have blogs posted on the website. So stay tuned for that. While you're there, sign up for our mailing list and sign up for our game show. That's over there as well. You can find that and sign up for that. And Jay will play the commercial. So we will be right back after these messages from our sponsors here on The Experience. You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting. Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP. Welcome back in the internet. What's going on? This is Hot Takes. I'm producer Kyle. This is a show where we talk about my opinions on things, and we try to answer the big question. The big question for tonight is, what influences you to consume media? What is the thing that gets you to watch or listen to or read the thing? What gets you to read a comic book? What gets you to watch a movie or TV show? What gets you to listen to a CD or a record or a song on Spotify? What is the thing that trips your trigger to get you to listen, to get you to consume the thing? We talked in the last segment about award season and do award nominations help influence you to consume something, to watch a movie? Same with the Grammys or whatever. Like, does a Grammy nomination get you to listen to a song? Does a Tony nomination get you to watch a musical? Those kind of things. What I would like to talk about, though, in this segment is there are a number of new television programs out that I think are very interesting. And I'd like to get, what would it take? I'd like to find out from you what it would take to get you to watch those things. And we'll start with the one that's already out. Velma on HBO Max. This is Mindy Kaling's take on the Scooby-Doo show. It's Mindy Kaling. And I'm going to find out the rest of the cast here. But it's adult Scooby-Doo, grown-up Scooby-Doo. And in fact, a little bit adult, if I'm being real honest. There's some parts of it that you're like, whoa, this is not the kids show that I came up with. So right now on Google, it has a 1.3 star review. Yes, it's Mindy Kaling as Velma, Sam Richardson as Shaggy, Constance Wu as Daphne, and Glenn Howerton as Fred Jones. Scooby is not listed in the cast. I'm just going to throw that out there. Apparently, Weird Al makes an appearance. I don't know if you've watched the show. Has anybody watched the show? Has anybody watched Velma yet? It had all the makings of something that could be really great in that same kind of Harley Quinn vein, where it's a grown-up version of a very maybe kid-centric show. However, it misses the mark in a lot of ways for me. But I come to it watching it because of the nostalgia of Scooby-Doo. And I was a big Scooby-Doo fan. I was a fan of all of the Scooby-Doo movies with Freddie Prinze Jr. In fact, I've met a lot of the actors who were in the Scooby-Doo movies over the years. And I have this fondness for Casey Kasem. And I have a real fondness for Matthew Lillard, by the way. He's a great guy. I watched this show and I just was frustrated. I didn't really find it to be in the spirit of Scooby-Doo. I didn't really find it to be what you go to look for when you look for a Scooby-Doo show. But yet here I am watching this show that has all of the parts that I should like. And it turns out that according to whatever statistics, Velma's premiere was HBO Max's most watched animated series debut ever. And I don't think I'll watch episode 2. For me, nostalgia was a huge part of why I watched that show. And when it didn't live up to nostalgia, I walked away. Now, starting tomorrow night on NBC, there's a 2-part series premiere of the brand new Night Court, a show that I've been waiting for a ridiculously long time. Almost as long as the experience has been on the air, I've been waiting for the Night Court reboot on NBC. The new Night Court stars Melissa Rauch, who you know as Bernadette from The Big Bang Theory, as Abby Stone, the daughter of Judge Harry Stone. John Larroquette returns in the role of Dan Fielding, the role he made famous 30 years ago. You have India de Beaufort as Olivia, who's the new prosecutor. Lacretta as Donna, who is the new version of Roz, the bailiff. Night Court reboot tomorrow. Yes, Brainy. And a number of other actors and actresses who you might recognize. I'm very excited for this show. I've been saying for a long time I'm very excited for the Night Court reboot. But my fear for the Night Court reboot is that it will have the same outcome as Velma. It will take the nostalgia that I hold so dear, and the reason that I'm even interested in watching the show, and either use it against me or ruin it. Velma took the nostalgia that I was looking for and ruined it because it was too adult. It was too grown up. It was too much not the Scooby-Doo that I know and love. Brainy says even a bad version of Night Court is still going to be good. I don't think Velma was bad. Right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the nostalgia is the reason I'm consuming the media, which goes back to our big question. What is the thing that influences you to consume a piece of media? What influences you most to consume a piece of media? So for me on the Velma show and now on this Night Court, it's nostalgia. It's that thing that I enjoyed when I was growing up. But if they take the thing that I enjoyed and either ruin it, like Velma did by trying to make it adult, and by adult, I mean adult, or use it against me, like I'm worried Night Court will, where it's all, hey, do you remember this gag from 30 years ago? We're not going to create anything new. We're just going to retread this same thing, and they're using my nostalgia against me. That worries me. That's something that will get me to stop watching a show. So when I ask the question, what influences you to consume media? And you can call in and tell me 567-318-6507, 567-318-6507. Like for me, in this case, it's nostalgia. A good story and synopsis would attract me. Okay, Brainy, but what if a good story and synopsis, we've all heard that pitch, right? Where something is great. The pitch is great. I read a pitch for a comic book today that described itself as Kill Bill meets Clash of the Titans. That's a heck of a pitch. Now, what if it's not that? What if the pitch is just a kind of, okay, these are two things we can kind of compare it to, and it doesn't live up, right? I have this tremendous concern when it comes to reading those things, that I will be misled by my own brain. Did you guys know that there was a film from 1932 called Night Court? I'm going to have to watch this. It has Philip Holmes in it and Walter Houston. Interesting. It would attract you enough to check it out, right? In the case of Night Court and Velma, it would certainly be nostalgia, right? And then what Velma does in a way that I am upset with, the reason I'm talking about it, is it takes it and says, hey, you remember that nostalgia? Let's make it porny. Let's make it not even tongue in cheek. Let's curse for no good reason. Let's be gratuitous for no good reason. Let's do all of this stuff that is taking that nostalgia and being like, well, you're old now, so we're going to give you old stuff. And it just doesn't work. For me right now, it's The Scream. I watched all of them in theaters, so I guess nostalgia for me. Triple B. Right. So, Triple B, what if I were just going to show you a new horror movie? What influence would you be looking for? What are you going to and relying on to interest you in a new horror movie? Right? The question earlier was, do award nominations influence you to see something? Is it all just nostalgia? Is it all just this gut feeling that we have, right? I can remember seeing new shows come out and be like, you know what? My gut tells me that's going to be awesome. And I wasn't influenced by anything necessarily. But I really want to know, what is it that people see that go, aha, this is the thing for me? Or I'm going to take some of my limited amount of free time and devote it to this thing. We just had The Last of Us come out, and Dan's going to talk about it on his show on Thursday, but it wasn't for him. I played the video games and they weren't for me. But I'm interested in watching the show because I think maybe I think maybe I'm just the wrong person to play the video games, but I still would be interested in the story. Brainy says, I'm watching The Recruit on Netflix. What caught my attention was the trailer and the synopsis. So are trailers the thing that get you? Are trailers the thing that influence you to consume media? You guys tell me. 567-318-6507. There's another show coming up that I'm interested in, which is I like it because it's the type of shows I like. Right. There's another show coming up, The Legend of Vox Machina, season 2. Now, I'm going to tell you my Vox Machina story. I was never a fan of the Vox Machina stuff, the Critical Role stuff. I didn't like the comics. I didn't like the YouTube content necessarily. I didn't like the podcasts. Like, there was a lot of Vox Machina Critical Role stuff that I just wasn't a fan of. But because we wanted to talk about it on the air last year, I watched the show and I fell in love with it. I love the idea of Dungeons and Dragons or a tabletop RPG being turned into an animated series to make it more consumable. I wish the thing I wish about Legend of Vox Machina and the Critical Role show is that it had a little more D&D, a little more role playing, and a little less just animated storytelling. I'd like to understand the parts of this that they're rolling for, as opposed to just knowing if it's an animated cartoon or not. But that was the influence for me on that show was Dan Wickline going, hey, I want to talk about this show. We want to cover this thing. Will you watch it? And we'll talk about it. And so I agreed to watch it. The idea of what influences you to consume media is incredibly important to me. I think it's incredibly important to any of us because it's how we make the determination as to what we spend our limited time on. Why are you here watching me talk into a microphone and not calling in when you could be watching the Cowboys game? I appreciate you being here. And those of you who aren't watching because you're watching the Cowboys game and you're going to watch this later on YouTube, thank you for coming back. For those of you who I just reminded that there was football and you're leaving now, I deserve that. But tell me why you're making the choices you make. I will tell you, today was a very slow news day. Not a lot happened. Not a lot of people worked today because of the holiday, Martin Luther King Day. So there's not a lot to cover, which is why we're kind of talking about this idea of how do you decide what you watch. Also, for me, it's interesting because I'm in a show desert, right? It took me a year to watch every episode of the original Night Court. I got done just in time for the new season. I watched every episode of Young Sheldon, and I'm caught up on that. After watching every episode of The Big Bang Theory, I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who before the new Doctor Who starts. Why do you watch what you watch? Why do you consume what you consume? It's a tough question to answer. But if you can tell me why you watch what you watch, and I can tell you why I watch what I watch, maybe we can come up with a way to pick stuff to watch when we're in show deserts. I don't know. Did anybody hear any news or see anything interesting over the last week that they want to talk about? Throw it in the comments. I don't have anything pressing to talk about other than this. So what we're going to do, Jay, is we're going to take our next break a little early. I need to get a drink of water, so we're going to take a break early. I want to remind you, though, that tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern on the Dan Wickline Show, Dan will be talking to Philip Kennedy Johnson, who is writing 007 right now for Dynamite, and he's doing some work on Superman. And so Dan's going to have him on to talk about what I think Dan and Jay and I all agree. One of the best series coming out right now, 007. Really great James Bond series. Then following him, it'll be Jay and I and Dan again on In Stores this week. Then you'll have the gang from Space Cadets talking about doing Minute to Skim It. Following them is Mint Hunter Collect Comics and Country Roads Comics. So those are all tomorrow. It's a long day tomorrow. It'll be a good time. So we're going to take our next break real quick here so I can get a drink of water, turn my hat around because I feel like I'm starting to sweat and this is a white hat. And we will be right back after these messages from our sponsors. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
You just finished the last episode of your favorite news show, and you just have to talk about it. But all your friends are ghosting you because of that incident last week at the buffet. Oh, you know the one. What you did to that chowder. Ugh. Keeps me up at night. So what do? Join writer Dan Wickline as he breaks down all your favorite pop culture media. Whether it's a review of the latest nerdy TV show or a dive back into the history of your favorite comic characters, Dan's ready to discuss all the hottest topics live. Join the conversation as Dan live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. The Dan Wickline Show on The Experience. Comic culture and sales. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
What's up, the internet? Welcome back in. This is Hot Takes. I am producer Kyle. I want to remind you guys about something else over on the internet. I say that like it's not like it's a separate place from here, but if you head over to fjcconline.com, you can support our friends at Fat Jacks. You know, they're going through some stuff right now. I would appreciate if you would support them. They do a great show here every Sunday night. Brendan puts on a heck of a show. He does 2.5 hours. He's the longest sales show we've got. And they are just having a ton of fun over there, but they're also struggling. So if you could head over to FJCC Online, you can buy something from their store. You can support their GoFundMe. Everything is right there on their website. Please, that would be great. Speaking of comics, to go back to our big question for the night, which is, what influences you to consume media? We talk a lot about comics on this network, on this channel. And I want to talk to you about what is it you look for when you look at a comic? What influences you to consume a comic? Give me a call, 567-318-6507, 567-318-6507, with your thoughts on what influences you to consume media. But I want to talk this segment about what influences you to consume a comic book. There are some new number ones out this week, and we had people on the air earlier with Miss Jen to talk about them. We had Eric Nguyen and Scott Berman, who are writing a book called White Savior from Dark Horse Comics, which is a parody of that White Savior kind of storyline that you see so often in Hollywood. It's a parody about, the Tom Cruise character in so many movies. They're making fun of that idea. So it's a very interesting concept there. We also this week have a book called The Coins of Judas. which is out from Band of Bards, from our friend Travis Gibb. That one is very interesting to me. And that one, the title is what got me. Coins of Judas. I don't need to know much more than the title on that book to be like, all right, this is interesting. This might be something good. And the premise of that book is that the 30 pieces of silver that were paid to Judas by the Pharisees to rat on Jesus, every one of them has spawned a demon. And those demons are based on our worst sins, the worst sins of man. And it's one family who throughout time, their job has been to hunt down and destroy those things. It's an interesting concept. I really like the idea. The name is what got me. Tomorrow on In Stores This Week, we're reviewing books like Barbaric, Hell to Pay, which we review the first issue of every Barbaric. And then Dan remembers that he doesn't like a talking sword or a talking axe, and we never read another one. So I have to go and get them myself. We're reviewing Gods Against Gru #2. We're reviewing a Dune book, which if I had my way, we wouldn't. But I am in this way influenced to consume media by my co-hosts on that show. Dan and Jay tend to like Dune more than I do. They read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I like it. I'm influenced by my coworkers, by my friends. When you get a comic book, when you see a comic book, is it the cover? Is it the title? Is it the creative team? Is it the writer? Is it the artist? What's the thing that influences you to consume media? Jay, who's in the background right now, is going to get called on to come to the front of the class, I think. Jay backs and supports a lot of Kickstarters. Jay, when you look at a Kickstarter, what's the thing that influences you to go, okay, here's my money?
It's usually covers and then synopsis.
So the synopsis plays a big role for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there things that you look for in a synopsis that if you don't see that, it turns you off, or if you do see, it's an instant answer?
Well, it's kind of a weird thing. Like I got a book once called Start Again, and I had Sean read it once it came in. Sean didn't like it when he first read it. Now, the reason that I was okay with it is because reading the synopsis told me that it was a superhero love story. So for me, I'm like, well, that's interesting. They're being upfront. They're not hiding it behind, oh, it's just superheroes, and then throwing the love story in there. So when things are upfront and they tell me what they're going to be, that kind of makes me a little more prone to be like, okay, that's interesting. They're not trying to trick me. But it's usually synopsis and, like I said, covers and art. Like I'm not that big of an art person, but I also don't want to buy something that the art's not exactly great,
Everyone say hi to Han.
Yeah, Han's barking in the background.
So let me read you a synopsis, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you the name of the book, though.
All right.
On the eve of his unwelcome retirement, Jim Sargent, a.k.a. Sarge, a grizzled old-school detective, catches a break on a murder case that's haunted him for decades. Unfortunately, Sarge must drag his anxiety-riddled adult son, Michael, along for the ride or risk losing the lead forever. Can this dysfunctional duo overcome their own hang-ups, blind spots, and secrets to catch a killer?
See, I'd be all for that because I'm an anxiety mess most of the time, and that just sounds hilarious to me.
All right, now I'm going to show you the cover.
Okay.
And you tell me if they match. Immortal Sergeant #1. We don't know what Immortal is. Doesn't say.
See, that is one of those things where I would go off the synopsis alone.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's the question I'm asking is what is the thing? For me, so often it's cover art. I don't care about a synopsis. I don't care. If a title is interesting and the cover art's good, I'm interested.
Right.
But if I don't read that synopsis, I never pick up this book.
Yeah.
So we got about 10 minutes left here on the show, and I'm going to ask the question again, one more time, the big question. What influences you to consume media? What's the thing you look for overall that tells you what you're going to consume? Jay, I'm going to take you out.
Okay.
All right. So what's the thing that influences you to what you're going to consume? I'm going to, if anybody wants to call in, we've got about 10 minutes left. 567-318-6507, 567-318-6507. I realize that sometimes I say that too fast. Before we, while we're kind of wrapping up here, I want to take a minute and tell you guys about a new show that's coming here to the Experience. That show is called SketchUp. The show is hosted by Mog Park and her husband Mel. If you don't know Mog did all the design art for Game of Thrones. She's an artist on several books, one of which is with Rob Multari. They have a Kickstarter coming up, but they're popular over on the Artist Alley Shopping Network. The show is called SketchUp. The idea will be that during the show, you can watch a piece of art be created, and you can bid on that piece of art. And then take it home. So it'll be a one-off original sketch. Maybe it'll be a sketch cover. Maybe it'll be something bigger. But that show is starting on Thursday, and our guest, which I'm announcing now for the first time because it just got booked, is Tony Moy. Tony Moy has a book called The 442nd, which he is doing all pro bono to support this veterans group and to raise awareness for this particular veterans group. So make sure you tune in for that. What are your thoughts? What influences you to consume media? I recognize that's a big question and we might not know the answer. So if we don't know the answer, that's okay. But I want you to think about, what are your influences? What things could I be showing you to get you more interested in books like Immortal Sergeant? Or we have coming up next week on the Dan Wickline show not even next week, on Wednesday. Fabrice Sapolsky of Fair Square Comics to talk about a book that's on order right now called Photonic. The Man of Light is what that book is called, Photonic Man of Light. And supporting a new independent publisher like Fair Square that is immigrant-owned, immigrant-run, books from the other people is kind of what books for everyone from everyone else. They have a fun catchphrase like that. I'm getting it wrong. But the idea of Fair Square, how do I get people, what can I do to influence you to buy into Fair Square? Something to think about. We're going to wrap up just a few minutes early tonight, I think, Jay. Because, again, I want to get everybody out of here. I know there's a big football game on. And I don't want to keep beating everyone over the head with my question. So here's the deal. Next Monday, we'll have another big question. And we'll have some news to talk about, I'm sure. So stay tuned for all the great stuff here on the EXP this week, including all of our great shows. And we will see everybody next time on Hot Takes. Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.